Okay, so hello everyone. Today we're going to start with the sound healing, and with the sound healing, I'm using the Tibetan bowls E and A, and E and A is a fourth, E, F, G, A, so there's four spaces in between, so it's called a fourth, and it's a very balancing energy, and it's good for obsessive thoughts and things like that. And also the E bowl relates to the solar plexus. So for me, I always think of the solar plexus as your inner light, your light that you can shine out and create this light around you. And also I find it sometimes when it's needs to be shaken up a bit, it's hard to kind of project that light out. And so I'm singing a lot of kind of deep lower tones to try to kind of shake up the stuck energy there. So that's what I'm doing. And so the sound healing will start now. Okay, so, and today before the channeling, I just have three things that I want to talk about. And remember, again, you can skip if you'd like to the channeling. The first thing is I'm on lesson 15, A Course in Miracles, and this one is My Thoughts Are Images That I Have Made. And I've done this lesson, this will be my fourth time through, but I don't remember this. I don't really remember seeing this part. Some parts of the book jump out at you, I guess when you're ready for them to understand it. And so just read the first paragraph, because I think it's really cool. It is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. Sorry, one more time. It is because the thoughts you think appear as images that you do not recognize them as nothing. You think them, and so you think you see them. This is how your seeing was made. This is the function that you have given your body's eyes. It is not seeing, it is image making. It takes the place of seeing, replacing visions with illusions. Right? So really cool idea. So your body's eyes, we think we're seeing things, but we're just actually creating images from our thoughts. And yeah, so that. And another thing is I've been reading again from the manual for teachers in the back of the book. And so I thought this is one more thing I thought was really cool. So the question is, how can perception of order of difficulties be avoided? And so here we go. So this is about perception as well. So the belief in order of difficulties is the basis for the world's perception. It rests on differences, on uneven background and shifting foreground, on unequal heights and diverse sizes, on varying degrees of darkness and light, and thousands of contrasts in which each thing seen competes with every other in order to be recognized. A larger object overshadows a smaller one. A brighter thing draws the attention from another one with less intensity of appeal. And a more threatening idea, or one conceived of as more desirable by the world's standards, completely upsets the mental balance. What the body's eyes behold is only conflict. Look not to them for peace and understanding. So illusions are always illusions of differences. So I thought that was a really cool idea. So this is talking about the difficulty in healing, that a true healer does not see the difference between a common cold and, for example, cancer. He sees them all as the same. It's just an illusion. There's no level of illusion. And so understanding that they are illusions is the first step to understanding that they don't exist. Yeah, so anyway, it's interesting stuff. I recommend, if you're interested, please check it out. It's really cool. And the more you do the lessons, the more the ideas become clearer to you, and they don't just sound like random words. And then, okay, so then the third thing I wanted to talk about was, before I started like really channeling, I've always been kind of interested in it, and I've kind of kept it a secret for a while, I guess for a long time in my life, pretending that I wasn't interested in it. And but one thing that I've always felt, though, no matter what, and no matter how much I tried to maybe keep it a secret or run away from it, is that I've always sensed on the back of my head or the top of my head or right side of my head, I can sense the people around me. I can sense what's going on, like, for example, in the house, or if I'm riding on the subway, or if I'm in a crowd of people, I can pick up on emotions and feelings, and a lot of the feelings that I get from the back of my head are very painful. It's like someone like sticks a needle in your back of your head, and I always assumed that it was just people staring at me, and I had asked my guides about it, and they said that is part of it, that it is kind of like the lower emotions of anger or fear or lust or these kind of things, and they can feel kind of like painful, like on the back of your head. But then I had a kind of an epiphany last night. I was coming home, and the whole way I went to the main station in my city, and there's just so many people, and it's just crazy. Everyone's just all over the place, and it's usually for me, very stressful. But somehow, I guess since I'm starting the Course in Miracles, I started remembering that, all of these people are me. They're all me. That person's me. That person's me. That person's me. That person's me. So how can I feel like stressed out when we're just all together? How wonderful, and we're all just together here. And whether or not they realize it, I realize it, and so we're one. And what a wonderful experience. And so it just made my ride home and my ride there so relaxing and comforting. And then I felt the energy on the back of my head. And then so last night I felt it, and I turned. So usually what happens is I can feel it, and then I just turn around and look at the person. Why are you sending this negative energy my way? And of course they're probably thinking, like, why is this guy staring at me? Because of course they don't think that I can feel their energy poking into the back of my head. So yeah, it's a strange thing, I guess. And then but anyway, last night I was walking down the street, and I felt it was like a needle in the back of my head, and I turned around and I saw there was someone walking behind me, and what I heard was, "Call your mother." So this was the epiphany. I realized that instead of a bane, that this is actually a blessing, that this feeling that I'm getting is not, if I walk into a room, I can sense, if there's anger or pain or whatever, I feel it as soon as I get in, and it's a physical sensation. I mean, it might be nicer if it was just like, oh, there's pain in this room, but it's like, ow, ouch, what are you guys talking about in here? kind of thing. So I always thought of it's a very interesting thing for me, but it was kind of a painful thing. Sometimes you wish you just not feel it, like especially in crowded places, because it makes it just so much harder. But I realized that, it's a message. I'm getting messages from people. It's not necessarily their hatred or their anger, although maybe that's part of it, but I'm just picking up on something, a message that is there that they need to be given. So, for example, that guy behind me, of course, I didn't turn around and say, hey, you got to call your mother. But I thought about it. But so, yeah, that's something I'm going to start exploring more. And I've always wondered if there's anyone else out there in the world that has this thing where you sense it on the back of your head, on the top of your head. Like when I had Reiki, when I had my Reiki, my Deiju, they call it. That's where they kind of clear out all the junk from your higher chakras so that you can get the energy directly, and then it can go through your body into your hands. When they were doing that to me too, I could feel, they weren't touching my head, but they were kind of putting their hands above my head, and I could feel, it almost felt like they were kind of like, not scratching, but it was kind of like digging for something. So I could actually feel that energy. So, there's a lot of, it is your crown chakra. And so that is where the messages come. But I just feel them physically coming, And so just realized recently that instead of just being like, just ringing my Tibetan bells to try to get this stuff out, it's just like, asking, okay, so, hey, what is this message? What is this pain? And yeah, so that's my thing. And if anyone has ever experienced that before, please, email me or comment at the bottom, because I'd be so curious to know how you deal with this and how your experience with this. And so then finally, I just want to do a channeling, and I'd like to actually ask my guides again about this situation, this feelings, these energies. Greetings. You might call us Bamiyat if you'd like. We have many, many different names. Today we might just go by Bamiyat. And yes, this is a very interesting question that you are asking. If you wonder where we are coming from over there. Yes, over there. We live mostly in your oceans, usually deeper in the oceans. We are not the mermaids. We are not what you think of as mermaids. We live deeper than the mermaids, and we are more ephemeral, you might say. We do not exist necessarily on the third dimension. We're a little bit in a different dimension from yours, but we can be seen by you. And we would like to take this question because we think it is a very, very important one for all of you who are slowly coming online, and who also have certain abilities that you have taken through the ups and downs of your lives, and you have maybe neglected them or undervalued them, or thought that, I wish I could get rid of whatever it is that you had. But you're finding, just like this being before you, you're finding that they are becoming more and more useful. This is coming online. This is what's happening for you. And this is part of this process of realizing your abilities, all of the abilities that you have. And so like this being, all of you have superpowers that you would call superpowers now, that we would just assume are just normal. Of course you have this power. You can move mountains. So all of this is coming online. And for this being, one of his superpowers is the ability to sense physically emotions, to experience them physically, to experience the messages that are coming. He can feel them on different parts of his head. And yes, as he was saying, that is true. Things that are on the top of his head are more of a higher frequency, and then it just goes down lower and lower to the back of the head. So the things coming into the back of the head are usually of a lower frequency, and this does not mean that they are bad. This just means that that is the frequency that they are coming from. And what this being needs to understand is, yes, they are like packets of information, like you have on your internet, how information travels in packets. And that is how information travels all over this world as well. That's how we communicate. The spiritual method of communication is the same as your internet style of communication. It's not exactly alike, but it is very, very similar. So there's packets of information that come, and what he needs to understand is that this pain is not, he does not have to feel the pain that people are feeling. He needs to understand that these are presents, and the pain is there to wake him up, to get him to realize that it's there, because otherwise he wouldn't realize it's there. So the pain can come, and then he can open up and he can see what is there. Now it is his choice, as he said, whether or not he tells the people around him what the messages that they need. From our perspective, we would think it would be a beautiful idea. What a wonderful idea to be giving the messages to the people, even though they don't want to hear them, because they do, because you are all one and you need these messages, and these messages are coming from their higher selves, and coming from their past relatives, and coming from all kinds of different places, and they really, really want these messages to be given to these people. And sometimes in this instance, this being here is the closest being that can sense it, and so they come to this being and they ask him to share these messages with the people. Now this being is very, very afraid that people would think that he is crazy if he just goes around giving advice to people. But we would say that is not crazy, that is beautiful, and that is a truly ascended being. Right. Yeah, I guess there's a fine line between crazy and a truly ascended being. Yeah, so there you go. So thanks for everyone for watching, and cheers.